Hello.
Hello.
You're listening to The Full Blossom of the Evening, a podcast about David Lynch and Twin Peaks.
I'm Indigo.
And I'm Hilary.
Listeners, we're going to tell it to you, and we're going to tell it to you straight. Today, we're talking about
Laura.
It was Laura, and I saw her glowing. I saw her smiling. I feel like I'm gonna dream tonight.
Well, I think it was over the summer when we sort of laid out our next few episodes and you said, Indigo, let's just do it. Let's do Laura.
It had been one of the first things we talked about.
Right. And I have to admit, I immediately felt this panic when you suggested it. I know, I didn't reveal. But my concern was that we weren't going to have a whole lot to say about it. Like that we wouldn't have much new of value to contribute to what's already been really widely discussed. There are so many connections between the 1944 film Laura and Twin Peaks. And the allusions are kind of obvious.
Yeah.
You know, we've got names like Lydecker and Jacoby, or Jacoby, as they say it in the film. The centrality of the portrait of the beautiful dead woman. There are other podcast episodes, articles, blog posts about these parallels between the film and the show. So I was scared.
Yeah, like how would we do it differently? Like how are we going to approach this topic that's already been touched on, but make it our own?
And then the breakthrough. Yeah, because it was maybe 5 minutes into reading about the film that I realized it was based on a novel.
Which is our bread and butter.
And so that was Vera Caspary's Laura that was published in 1943.
Yeah, which we've said back and forth a number of times now is also just really well written.
Ooh, we love this book.
Like it's really, she is just a great writer actually, and I'm so glad that we stumbled into this so that I could be introduced.
Exactly. I feel the same way. And I think for a casual reader, the book isn't too much of a divergence from the film.
No, there's a couple times I remember when we had our meeting to first sort of discuss things where I had totally noticed there were some things that were kind of just scene for scene almost.
Absolutely.
I remember another thing I had brought up was that it reminded me a lot of how I talk about The Princess Bride to people, which is that the book, if you like the movie, you'll love the book because it's just, you just get more info. It's like you just kind of get like a director's cut or deleted scenes. You just get to know the characters a little bit more. Like in The Princess Bride, it's like you get Inigo's whole backstory, you get Fezzik's whole backstory, and then in this, you get Mark's perspective, you get Laura's perspective, you get so much more, so that then when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, okay, so they don't go into detail about why XYZ thing is happening, but I know why it's happening because I read the book. So I know the like inner machinations of this character's mind.
Absolutely. I felt the same way because I saw the movie years and years ago, watched it again as part of kind of a film noir binge a few years ago, and then read the novel, watched the film again with the novel in mind. And man, there were so many things that I thought like, oh, it's like these are subtle nods to details in the book. I really loved the first person narration we get in the novel from Waldo, Mark, and Laura.
Yeah, and that was another thing we had talked about, was that this was also just a really unique way of writing for the time.
It was, yeah. She's inspired by Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White, which you have not read yet.
No.
So we're not going to talk about that and spoil anything for Indigo. But the Woman in White is told this way too, that there are multiple narrators throughout telling this story from different perspectives. And Count Fosco in The Woman in White is definitely reimagined as Waldo Lydecker in this. And there's a Laura character in The Woman in White also. Anyway, lots of cool parallels.
I can't wait to read it. And also, I feel like, so we had talked a little bit about that, obviously with the change in the movie is that we really focus on Waldo. We really focus on his voice and his storytelling. And I get why. I get why that for that time, to make that into a movie, it could have been really confusing or gotten, really messy and stuff if they tried to do all three narratives.
And they did. Yeah, the early draft of the screenplay did have 3 different voiceovers.
Yeah. And it's just...
But you're right. It wouldn't have worked.
I think it would have been confusing to audiences given the time. I think that just wasn't really the style. And... But it's something that... I feel like it's not too late for them to do another version. Somebody nowadays could pick it up. I think it would do, now that we have this kind of format for like mini series where it's like, each episode is a different person's perspective or something. I think that could be really fun. I think if somebody wanted to pick it up and make it like a Netflix mini series where it's like, 3 maybe hour-long episodes or something, and every episode is each of their parts of the book.
Yeah.
I think that would be so fantastic. I think she was ahead of her time. I think that she was writing for miniseries and she didn't even know.
Well, even though on my first rewatch after reading, I thought, ooh, there's lots of good parallels here. I read a little bit more about Vera Caspary's objections to an early draft of the screenplay. And then I think we both started to notice where the film does depart significantly from the novel on some details. Caspary published an article titled My Lara and Otto's, where she recounts getting into public shouting matches with Preminger over changes he made to the story. I feel like if it was worth her having a public screaming match with the director, it's probably important for us to note and discuss.
Yeah. Which also, it is interesting because I feel like this is a thing that happens with a number of our topics, because that was very human comedy as well. These authors that are, having some qualms with the adaptations.
Even back to our very first topic episode with Nabokov's Lolita, right? Yeah. Because we were initially going to discuss this topic kind of the way we did The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, as if the book and film are just a single text. But I mean, the more we looked into this novel, the more I think we saw even richer parallels with Twin Peaks there than even perhaps in the film.
Yeah. We think it's fairly certain that our writers were deliberately alluding to both the film and the novel with their incorporation of details from Lara. And if they weren't, there are some extreme coincidences at work.
So we hope this inspires you, listener, as it did us, to read the novel and also to learn more about Vera Caspary, right?
Yeah. She was a prolific writer and an incredibly interesting person who has largely been forgotten today. Like her heroine Lara, Caspary was an unconventional woman for her era, though even more so, and her writing clearly reflects her experiences navigating the American 20th century as an intelligent, independent, ambitious, and socially uninhibited young woman.
Yeah, she was quite a wild thing for the 1920s. Yeah.
Girl after my own heart.
Well, the novel Lara is unapologetically feminist in ways that the film only hints at. But it also celebrates a type of masculinity that the best male characters of Twin Peaks represents too. We've set today's topic up in chapters, like we've done sometimes in the past. And we're calling Chapter 1, The Way We Fall in Love with Lara. So this is our the first place that we see a parallel between this film/novel and Twin Peaks.
Yeah. So step 1 kind of goes over projecting our dismissive assumptions on the dead girl.
I think one of the most jarring things on any Twin Peaks rewatch for me is the kind of callousness that Cooper seems to have toward Laura Palmer in the early episodes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because it's like, he sees her as this, classic case, a party girl, blah, 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 expects to find cocaine in her diary. He's so weird when he's getting the letter out from under her fingernail. Like, he's just gleeful. He's like, ooh, a little clue.
It's ghoulish.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And even when he gets the safe deposit box and he's like, ooh, that's a whole lot of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, it's
You know?
just like he immediately assumes that she is not an innocent, sort of. And then as he finds these things, it kind of confirms these assumptions for him. But then it's such a departure from how we see him at the end.
Yes.
I mean, like, that's the thing, is that it's like any Twin Peaks fans, it can be a little jarring because you get so used to this Cooper who's so devoted to Laura.
Right. I think that's it. You know, when you know where it ends and you revisit the beginning, it's stunning to kind of see how he starts.
Yeah.
Laura's not a real person to him at all. I mean, that makes sense. That's appropriate for an investigator.
Yeah.
And nothing else would really make sense for someone so new to Twin Peaks.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the other thing we've touched on it before. That's why Fire Walk With Me was so important, was that David really wanted to give us more of Laura.
Right.
He really wanted people to see how complex she was.
And I've said this, if not on this show, I think on the episode that I did on Blue Rose Task Force, that when I first watched Twin Peaks, I didn't see Laura as a whole person either, the original series.
Yeah.
I didn't think she didn't seem like she could really exist. She was too many contradictions in one person, or too many projections of different things. So I guess I can sympathize a little with Cooper's attitude there at the beginning.
Yeah. And our detective in the book and the movie, Mark, has kind of a similar attitude towards our Laura there. That's Laura Hunt. In the beginning, you know, he's calling her, you know, as it was back in the day. He's calling her a dame and things like that. And then as it goes along, he starts to talk about her quite differently, and he starts to interact with Laura a lot differently.
Yeah, I have the quote from the novel. Mark McPherson says of Laura's murder, "A two-timing dame gets murdered in her flat. So what? A man did it. Find the man. Believe me, Mr. Lydecker, I'm seeing the game this afternoon." Right, so dismissive, like he wants to go to his baseball game.
Right, he's like, this better not take away from my sports time.
Yeah, just to think that she begins to him as a two-timing dame.
Right, he's like, well, because, and honestly, him mentioning the game is important because he's really saying, he's like, this is just a job. This is just going to be one of my everyday jobs. I get these all the time, you know, just like Cooper. He's like, okay, it's another teenage girl doing cocaine and sex work. We've got Mark being like, okay, great. Another woman murdered by a boyfriend or something.
Right.
You know, I'll have this wrapped up in the next 24 hours, or I'd hope it's soon so I can get to the game on time.
Yes. And just like us, since the viewers are part of this falling in love with Laura too, we also assume we're just watching a television show.
Yeah.
And then years later, we're sitting here doing a podcast.
Years later, it has consumed my life, and my whole apartment is full of different Twin Peaks things.
I think almost every T-shirt I own is somehow Twin Peaks related. Yeah. So we all start somewhere, just like our detectives, and somewhere quite different. You know, both of our Lauras, Laura Hunt and Laura Palmer, really start as very traditional dead girls. They are just there to precipitate the story.
Yeah.
You know, they're there as objects, not as actual characters themselves.
Right.
At the beginning.
Yeah, it's just a way to start the story, and it's nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. Or so it seems.
Right, because now we have step 2 in this falling in love with Laura, and that's learning about Laura through the peripheral. Mm-hmm. So in both stories at the beginning, we have the absent woman who is the eternally unknowable being in the center. And then we just circle the edges, spiraling toward that mystery, right, as we get to learn more about her.
Yeah, because the way that we learn about these characters is through their friends. Actually, a thing that we noticed with both of them that we thought was pretty interesting was the diary.
Yes.
Both of our Lauras, our detectives, are getting to know them through their diaries as well. And like their personal effects.
Right, like the small box of chocolate bunnies, you know?
Or like perfume and clothing and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
going through their rooms, going through their diaries, talking to their friends. And then, of course, the portraits.
Yes, of course. So the portrait is much more important in the film Lara than it is in the novel. Even on streaming, when I've brought a Lara to watch, the synopsis says like a detective falls in love with a dead woman's portrait. And the novel, the portrait is part of it.
But it's not really what makes him fall in love with her.
No.
There's a lot more than that.
Right, right. In fact, in the novel, one critical analysis I read, which was really interesting, said that the portrait is like a symbol of her independence in the novel because she doesn't have any other paintings or photos of people on display.
Yeah.
It's just that.
Right.
And it is a little odd to have a portrait of oneself
Yeah.
on display. But Lara is this unconventional, independent woman. Of course she'd have her own portrait up.
Right. I mean, I have a portrait of myself that a friend from college did for like a class. And it is one of those things that I never know where to hang it. I love it. But it does feel weird like when I look at it and I'm like, I'm seeing myself staring at myself.
See, you need to take a page from Laura Hunt. Hang up that portrait.
I should. Yeah, I need to find the main thing is I haven't found a good spot in this apartment that I want to put it. But yeah. But the thing is, that is so important, that is a stark difference between the book and the movie, is that in the book, Lara is no great beauty.
Right.
She is just a regular dame. I had to say it.
She's not bad looking.
No, but she's just, I mean, it comes up multiple times in the book, and Laura says it herself.
Right.
There is a whole discussion that she has with Mark where she's talking about another character, Diane. Where she's saying, you know, he's like, well, tell me what you thought of her and tell me more about her. And she's like, you don't want to hear what I have to say about her. You know, a girl like me talking about a girl like her. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, when a girl who looks like me talks about a girl that is that pretty, you're just going to assume that I'm saying bad things because I'm jealous of how much prettier she is than me. And it's like there's so many little interactions like that where it's you know, she's like, I know that I'm just regular looking.
Right.
And characters talk about it where they say like, the thing about Lara Hunt in the book is that what was so special about her was her personality.
Yeah.
That she was such a just lovable person. She was just kind. She was this person that people adored because of her personality rather than her looks. But in the movie, it becomes a lot more about her looks. Like, they choose a gorgeous actress, for one thing.
So stunning.
So stunning. So, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone who met her fell in love with her because she's so pretty.
Were we a little bit in love with Jean Tierney? I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous. I know in the novel, Mark and Waldo are talking about Lara very early on, and Waldo says, that's a sentimental portrait. Jacoby was in love with her at the time. Mark says, she had a lot of men in love with her, didn't she? And Waldo says, she was a very kind woman, kind and generous. And Mark says, that's not what men fall for. And Waldo insists that she was extremely honest. Her flattery was never shallow. She found the qualities that made men important. Surface faults and affections fell away like false friends at the approach of adversity. Waldo is celebrating something different in her than just her physical appearance there, now that she's dead.
Right.
Right.
And an important thing, too, is listeners, if this is your first time approaching either of these texts, Waldo is definitely written queer.
Oh, yeah.
Like 100%. So that's an important thing to know about this character as well, is that the relationship he has with Lara, like they are very, very close and have a very kind of like, I don't know if I would say codependent. I guess a little bit. She's less dependent. He's very dependent on her.
Yeah.
But it's not out of any sexual desire, really.
Yes.
It's not like he's like, oh, she's so beautiful, I want to have sex with her. It's not that. It's a very different kind of relationship and obsession.
Yeah, he believes he created her and he wants to collect her.
Yeah.
In a way.
But it doesn't have anything to do with looks, where in the movie that line is a lot more blurred. Not in terms of his queerness or anything, but in terms of, I don't know, that kind of coveting. Like, 'cause she is such a pretty thing in the movie, where it's like, you could see someone being like, even if I'm not sexually attracted to you, I want to have, he's such a collector, and he loves these beautiful things, and you could see him being like, I want this one other beautiful thing on my shelf.
Yeah.
But it's so different with the book, because there's so many more layers to it, and it's more about her personality than anything.
I know one of the things I really like is that Mark McPherson interviews her coworkers and her bosses, and her bosses say a lot of good things about her, but what moves him more is that the people who work under her love her. Yeah. And he thinks that just shows character. Yeah. That, you know, the people who work for Lara speak as admiringly of her as anyone else.
Yeah, and like her like maid like says Bessie. she's like I would do this work for free. I just love to work for Miss Lara. Like, it's like she's so completely devoted to Lara. And again, she says, like, I would do this even if she didn't pay me. I just love working for her. She's just such a great lady. Like, I mean, how good of a person do you have to be that, like, even the people that are your hired help are like, it is such an unbelievable joy to work for this person. They're that good.
Yeah.
And now imagine you're the detective investigating this person that you thought was just like a 2-bit dame and, you know, 2-timing whatever. And then you just, everyone you talk to is like, she was the kindest person I've ever known. She was just a good soul. She just brought out the best in everyone, just would do anything for anyone, bend over backwards to help someone.
Oh, yeah. Her biggest faults are that she's too impulsively generous.
Yeah.
You know?
And so how can you not? Then you immediately are just going to be like, okay, I have to rethink everything, because actually she's not some shady person. She's a very special person that I've now fallen in love with. But she's dead. Or is she?
You know, in the film, that moment when he falls asleep and then wakes up, you could absolutely read that as he's just dreaming that Lara returns, and that the whole rest of the film is just like Mark McPherson's dream. He wishes so badly. Yeah. But listeners, in the novel, that's not even remotely true.
No, and also I love, like, again, talking about the kind of director's cut almost, because, like, that's the point where it has switched to Mark's perspective.
It does.
And so we hear Mark's internal monologue of, like, I must be dreaming. This is insane. I can't believe she's really here. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, you're like crushing on this person, but they're dead, and then you fall asleep and you wake up and she's there. What would you even do?
It's a dream come true.
I mean, truly.
And so, but what's so nice in the novel is that Lara is such a very real and fully embodied character, and we get her narration also, and that makes her even more real and lovable to us. Like, she has this really sweet kind of self-effacing quality, and that just gives her brilliance this warmth and relatability, I think. So in the novel, when Lara starts to take over the narration, she says, "The idea that I am an intelligent woman is pure myth. I can never grasp an abstraction except through emotion. And before I can begin to think with my head about any fact, I must see it as a solid thing on paper." And then she talks about, like, how good she is at work. you know, and how clear thinking she is when she's working on advertising. But when I think about myself, my mind whirls like a merry-go-round. All the horses, the bright and the drab, dance around a shining mirrored center whose dazzling rays and frivolous music make concentration impossible. It's just so cute to me because I can so relate to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a friend the other day that was like, have you seen you? And I was like, what? I was like, Jackie, I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm in my PJs. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't. And she was like, fine, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And I was like, okay.
Oh, how sweet.
But like, I mean, yeah it's very relatable.
Right. And I love this side of the character that, yeah, she's all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
And she's so beloved, and she's so attractive and dynamic that even from beyond the grave, she can seduce this detective.
I know.
But
And again, it's like through him like reading her diary and talking to her friends,
Yeah.
it's like it has very little to do with her looks.
nothing, well, almost nothing to
Yeah.
do with her looks. And yet here she is to us admitting, you know, as the narrator, like, listen, I'm a mess. I just really like that element of her character. And this is so similar to how we get to know Laura Palmer, too.
Yeah.
You know, through her diary,
Right.
literally reading her diary.
Through her friends, through the townspeople, the people that she's interacted with.
And that's how Cooper gets to know her. And that initial impression he has, that very kind of shallow, stereotyped impression of the dead girl, falls away in the presence of this incredibly vivid and interesting and complicated woman, girl in Laura's case.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the thing is like, as Cooper gets to understand more and more about Laura's situation and everything that she was juggling, he does grow fond of her. He comes to understand her and see her as way more three-dimensional. I don't know. It's one of those things where the more you get to know them, the more you grow to love them.
Right. I mean, so that takes us to step 3, which is deep in love with a whole complex person. I think in our meeting, you said that Cooper starts by kind of just disregarding Laura almost as a prop, and by the end, he's like, I'm going to blow up my whole life and bend time.
I think that is what I said. I for sure said blow up my whole life. Because he does. He does.
I'm going to risk and ruin everything just to save you. That's how important you alone are, Laura Palmer.
This girl that at the beginning he's like, oh, another teenage druggie.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like, actually, I'm going to destroy everything I love and hold dear and hope that I can mess up time a little bit.
Yeah, because one of the birds of the 2 birds with 1 stone is, I'm going to go back in time and save this teenager, you know. It's so sweet. But we would do it too.
Yeah.
We, the viewers, we love Laura Palmer that way too. We're like, yes, you should go back and save her, please.
Have you seen those memes where it's like girl versus guy going back in time, and the guy is like, you know, like goes to like meet his granddad or something. I forget like what they usually are, but
I think I have.
yeah, and there's this one where it's like a girl and it's like, I would go back in time and save Laura Palmer.
I haven't seen that meme, but I love it.
It's so relatable. I mean, like, that's the thing is it's like, yeah, okay, so I can go back in time and do anything. Okay, I'm gonna go back in time and save Laura Palmer. I'm gonna get her out of there. No question. Especially now as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 31. I'm going and I'm getting her. I'm getting her out of there. We're going anywhere else.
Laura Palmer would be just fine
Yeah.
if time machines existed.
I'm taking her to like Vermont.
She would have this massive group of people just ready to save her in every way. Well, I think this is also how we see Mark with Laura Hunt. But, you know, he doesn't have to go back in time.
No.
Because she just comes forward into time and is there with him. In both of these stories, the dead woman that we get to know is an unconventional, seemingly contradictory, but really just complex, fiercely independent, brave, deeply loving person. This is probably a good moment, though, to touch on the difference between Otto Preminger's view of the character of Laura Hunt and Vera Caspary's.
Yeah. Yeah, because, again, them changing in the film, changing her into a great beauty and making the portrait such a big thing where it's like, I mean, it's a gorgeous portrait of her. She looks amazing, because how could she not? But it's like, it really does change the character a lot.
Right. Well, in that article that Vera Caspary wrote, My Laura and Otto's, she said to Otto, why don't you give her the character she has in the book? I asked Preminger. In the book, he answered, Laura has no character.
Which is just not true.
It's so not
It's
true.
like literally the most untrue. It's like, brother, did you read the book?
Well, Vera Caspary says, I howled. I bet she did. I imagine her, ow!
Like, it's just like, I mean, that's giving the same energy as like, I saw there was like a review about the new Frankenstein where somebody made a critic made a review where they were like, this version is so weird. They tried to make us feel pity for the monster.
Oh, good Lord.
And feel like it was a sympathetic creature. And people were going nuts on the internet because they were just like, they were like, say you didn't read the book without saying you didn't read the book.
Oh.
Everyone was going crazy on the internet on that one because that's the same energy of it's just like, you and I did not read the same book, did we? Or you just didn't really read it.
I know Caspary goes on, in New York, the magazine and book editors are urging me to write another wonderful, warm, sexy girl like Laura. And Preminger responded, Laura has no sex.
All right.
Yeah, he just really didn't get it. He thought that she paid a gigolo. He thought that Shelby was like a gigolo.
Which is, there's literally a point where they specifically say in the book that he is not. Like that is literally a conversation that they have and they denounce that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Now, again, this is all based on the first version of the screenplay that came, that Caspary got to read. So the final version that we see is better. She admitted that she thought that the character of Laura was better in the final version. But I really like how Caspary described Laura's character. She said, she had been too kind for caution, too bright-eyed about a man's virtue to see his flaws clearly. And then she said to Preminger, do you mean she never got money out of men or mink or diamonds? That doesn't mean a girl's sexy, Mr. Preminger. It just means she's shrewd. Laura's just the opposite. She gives everything with her love. Perhaps you don't know anything about love, Mr. Preminger, I said, and made a haughty exit.
Yeah. I mean, but again, like, that's the whole thing is that in the book they talk about how she's generous to a fault. And like that's part of the misunderstanding with Shelby is that she does throw away a lot of money on him, but it's because she likes him.
She loves him.
She's like, I'm going to buy you this fancy cigarette case. I don't care that I can't afford it. I'm going to use everything I have to get this for you. And as someone who like gift giving is my love language, it's like, yeah, I feel that very much. I just like, I'll be at work and I see something and I'm like, oh, my friend would really like that. I have like a Tony Soprano sticker over here from my friend Kelly. Like, it's just, that is just some people's love language. And apparently he's not familiar with love languages or maybe love at all. Such a sad, lonely man. But to go back to the portrait and just the difference between the beauty of Laura in the book and in the film, we touched on this a bit in our Books of Fire Walk With Me episode when we were talking about The Rose and the Ring, how Laura Palmer has said she struggled to make connections with people due to them just being attracted to her. We've got a ton of that in The Secret Diary where she's trying to connect with people, like even with Josie, where she's like, oh, I've made a friend, I'm tutoring her, and then Josie wants to get with her. It's like she she feels so empty and alone because she tries to make these real connections with people and they just want to have sex with her.
Yeah.
And then she just feels objectified all over again. She doesn't know who she can really connect with, who she can really trust. And people just get totally absorbed by that attraction instead of trying to actually get to know her as a full person. And that's something that, again, like kind of gets lost with the film, because when you make her this incredibly beautiful woman, then again, like, yeah, no wonder she's got all these men in love with her, because she's just like conventionally attractive. And so it's easy to glaze over all these other incredible qualities of this character if you can't stop looking at their face.
Yeah.
If you can't stop looking at their beautiful face, then it can kind of, you know, cover up or cloud over all these other incredible qualities.
It's like the physical body is an obstacle to true love and understanding.
Yeah.
You know, like this extreme beauty is a handicap. And when you mentioned us talking about that with The Rose in the Ring, yeah, Rosalba, that character, you know, she's once she has the ring in her possession and she's irresistibly beautiful, that it's a burden to her.
Yeah,
you know?
people just are clawing at her, and then when they can't get her, they turn on her.
They turn violent.
Yeah, which
Right.
is very Twin Peaks. I mean, like that's very Laura Palmer. It's like
It's very Laura Hunt.
it's very
also.
Laura Hunt as
Yeah.
well. It's just, I mean, that's another thing that really ties both of those characters together, is the people want to covet you and control you and possess you, and then if you do not let them, they will go crazy and try to hurt you.
But in both these stories, we have the absence of the physical woman. You know, in both Laura Palmer and Laura Hunt, the detectives and us, you know, the reader / audience, we fall in love with this complex human being in a way. In the case of Cooper in Twin Peaks, it's not a romantic love, but it's obviously a deeper and more compelling love than can be easily labeled.
Yeah.
And although Mark's love for Laura Hunt is more conventionally romantic, it's still much bigger than that, because I love when she shows up alive at the apartment and he sits up the whole night talking to her.
Yeah, because I had brought this up before we started, that one of the things I love the most about that scene is that, because at this point it's from his perspective, and so he says directly to us, to the reader, that it feels like they were old friends. And that is such a special, deep connection. When you meet someone for the first time in person and you're like, it felt like I was spending the night up talking to an old friend. That is not just someone you want to have sex with or something. That is
Right.
someone that you feel a genuine, deep connection with. Someone who sees you and you see them, and you want to share all these memories with each other, which he does. I mean, like, that's the thing, is like, it's this whole thing where it's in the movie, it's that she sees that he's got her diary out, and he's like, well, I didn't know that you were alive. I thought I was just reading it as evidence. And she's like, oh. And like, so then it's so beautiful, this idea of like, he's like, okay, well, I should tell you things about myself, and even the playing field kind
It does
of.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that passage that you were referencing just a few seconds ago. Mark says, "We laughed. A girl had died. Her body had lain on the floor of this room. That is how Laura and I met. And we couldn't stop laughing. We were like old friends, and later at 3:30, when she said she was hungry, we went into the kitchen and opened some cans. We drank strong tea in the kitchen at the kitchen table like home folks. Everything was just the way I had felt it would be with her there, alive and warm and interested in a fellow."
I like want to cry. I like want to cry.
Laura Hunt really benefits from a reverse of how most of us are loved. Like, she's a physical being last.
Yeah.
By the time she meets Mark, he has fallen deeply in love with every other aspect of her.
It's very...
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I mean, it's been on my mind lately because 'tis the season.
Yeah.
But it's very how I think so many of us love You've Got Mail and The Shop Around the Corner.
Yeah.
because it's like, I mean, I love both. I mean, how can you not love the original too? Oh my God. But it's like that idea of someone falling in love with you while you're pen pals, or like, you know, like they truly, they get to know you as this faceless person that they're having incredible conversations with. Or in this case, you know, he's just getting to know her, you know, again, like through her friends, her diary, her things like that. And then, yeah, then by the time you actually meet, you're just like, oh, it's you. Oh my gosh.
And so she shows up after her weekend in the country, and here's someone completely in love with her whole self.
Yeah.
You know?
Every girl's dream.
It is. I know that the author of the afterword of my version of Laura, A.B. Emrys, she said that this is a fairy tale for working women in the 1940s. And man, I see that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, because that's the thing is like, that is a really important quality of Laura, is that she's hardworking.
Oh,
She's very devoted to her career. She's a real career woman. And that is a large part of her identity. And the independence that it goes hand in hand with that as well. And I think that is also something we can see with Laura Palmer. I mean,
Yes.
obviously having like multiple jobs and stuff, like she, you know, she really, I don't want to read
Well,
that.
Laura Palmer is like a traumatized version of
Yes.
this, you know, because she's got so many, she's got so much to cope with.
Right.
And she's still she's still managing to shine and to succeed. Where our Laura Hunt is not a traumatized woman. You know,
No.
she's ambitious, she's successful, she's beloved, she's making it on her own in 1940s New York.
And she's passionate about her job
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean, truly, this is like for women in the 40s that were like really excited to be in the workforce and like, you know, really make it on their own and everything like this. Yeah, like being able to like have a job you love, you're good at, you're devoted, everybody likes you at work.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you maybe fake die, and then there's like a really sweet, handsome young man in your apartment being like, hi, I'm in love with everything about you.
Yeah.
Can I cherish you forever? I mean, he doesn't say it exactly like that, but...
And then I'll rescue at the end.
Yes.
and then we'll live happily ever after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You rescue me, I'll swoon.
I think this is a really good place for us to transition to chapter 2.
Yes.
Which is wholesome masculinity and its toxic imitations.
Yes. Yeah, because so as we kind of touched on already, we see these similarities with Mark and Cooper for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, you mentioned Mark and Laura's first late night conversation. I really love how it immediately neutralizes the imbalance of power.
Yeah.
Like, he could have all kinds of power over her because he knows so much.
Right.
He's read her letters. He's read her diary. He's looked at her clothes and smelled her perfume and talked to everybody she knows.
Yeah.
And yet he immediately balances it because he tells her his entire life story that first night. Everything.
Even like he says, like there are stories that he tells her that he hadn't told anyone in a long time or even thought about in a long time. He just gives it all up to her.
Yeah, and I really love, well, I think this is a testimony to the kind of love he feels for her. And then it's a testimony to the kind of person Laura is too, because I love her response. She says, like, I hope you've got a million more stories to tell me.
Yeah.
Ugh, she's so sweet.
And talking about power imbalance, I love that in that kind of first interaction they have, there's a point where he's like, you should go change. And she's like, oh, you're going to tell me what to do? And he's like, you're going to get cold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to be like, she's like, oh, like I love that interaction because I feel like that's something I would totally do. I'd be like, oh, you think you can boss me around? And like, it would just be like a sweet person being like, no, I just like genuinely think you're going to get cold if you don't put on something else. But like, it's just like, it's one of those moments where it's like, you could read it as like a power imbalance, and she kind of like she gets on the defense. She's that independence, she has
In the novel, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She has that independence, and so she gets on guard, and then he's just like, don't be cold.
Yeah,
And it's like,
right.
oh, you just like, you're being sincere.
And then it kind of goes both ways too, because he's criticizing her a little bit, or he's criticizing her lack of caution over letting Diane Redfern have her apartment for the weekend. And he's saying, oh, you've got to be more careful. They said you were generous, impulsive too, aren't you? And he's like, you could get in trouble. You got lucky this time. And she says, go on. She laughed. You're not so hard-boiled, McPherson. How many shirts have you given away in your life? Like, she sees right through him, too. She knows he's like a sweet, generous, sensitive person also.
Yeah.
So I love them.
Yeah. I like that. I think they are such a good match for each other. Their energies are a good match.
Well, I really like how the novel characterizes all of Mark's good traits with simple language.
Yeah.
Mark is a man. Not a real man or a good man, no qualifiers, because this suggests that every other kind of supposed masculinity is just not. It's not. This feels really radical to me. Like, I think we're so used to defining men in terms of their deviation from villainy.
Yeah.
Instead, just asserting man for Mark is like reclaiming the term.
Right. Yeah, and I think that it really emphasizes then that, I mean, we could say, oh, he's a real man and stuff, but it's like, it emphasizes his realness in a way. Like, it's just like he's just a guy and she's just a girl, which again is so much more clear in the book, that she's just a regular girl. She's just a very kind girl. She's just a kind woman, and he's just a regular guy.
Yeah, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's like the best.
Yes.
But that is just a man. Bessie's the first one who says this. It says in the novel, Bessie brought the poached egg. He's a man, Bessie said abruptly. A man, Bessie said. Most of them that comes here are big babies or old women. For once, you've met a man. Oh, I love how it concludes. And then, completely in the groove of this man worship, added, guess I'll bake a chocolate cake.
Love it. Love it.
That writing is so good.
First thing I do when a man comes over is make a chocolate cake for sure. For sure.
Even later in the novel, when Waldo is trying to tear Mark down, at the end, Laura's defense of him is Mark's a man.
Yeah.
But I read a book about the film and the novel by Eugene McNamara, and what was interesting is he misquoted this repeatedly. He said that Laura calls Mark a real man. It made me actually have to go back and look at the novel to make sure I wasn't wrong. Yeah, so he was, I guess the author of that book was kind of reading the subtext.
Right.
But no, it doesn't say he's a real man.
Yeah,
It
it's
says
just
he's a man.
implied. It's just kind of implied that it's like, I think when people say real man, it conveys something a little different. I think that's the thing, because it's like, oh, he's a real man. He's a really manly man, like, ugh. But Mark is a real man, and in that he's a good man.
Yeah.
He is a real man, and that he would want Laura to be warm.
Yeah.
That he would want Laura to eat. He gets them groceries. Like he's a real man, and that he cares for her and he wants to look out for her and protect her.
And he also respects her,
Yeah.
and isn't threatened by her independence at all.
No, he's playful with it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, is he's so ready to meet her at her level, meet her where she's at, and embrace it and not fight it or try to put her in a box or try to possess her or something.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, I started to try to make a list of adjectives because I thought, okay, if Mark is a man, how is Vera Caspary defining a man? And so I was like, well, what's Mark like? So I wrote like courageous, intelligent, discerning, he's sensitive. Like in the novel, he's a big reader. Like he's read the same things that Lydecker has read.
Yeah.
You know, he's capable of true love and he's respectfully protective.
Yes.
Was the language I used.
I think that's perfect because, again, it's like he's not looking to possess or covet her in the way that other men have in the past. Other men always want something from her, whether it's to possess her in the form of a painting, whether it's to possess her as this like ingenue or something, in the way that like Waldo has this obsession with her. You know, she's just like another trinket to have.
She's, in the novel it's described as people got to know her in society as if she was Waldo Lydecker's cane, walking stick, or Van Dyke, like his beard.
Right.
Yeah, like she's part of him, like an accessory.
Yeah, and he likes that. He likes that she's this little accessory. But yeah, he's not looking to really take anything from her. You know, he just likes her for who she is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that scene in Bridget Jones' Diary where they're like, he likes her just the way she is, or whatever that line is. It's like the thing is, like, that kind of affection is so powerful and rare to find someone who likes you just the way you are. I think that's the line in Bridget Jones' Diary, but it's like, yeah, he likes you just the way you are. He likes Laura for, again, like her personality and all of these traits that he's come to know by listening to her records, by, like, that's the thing that he says to Waldo. He's like, I listen, because Waldo's like trying to tell him about like Laura's music taste and stuff, and he's like, I know, I listen to all her records.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and Waldo's like, oh. He's like, yeah, man, I already covered that. Checked out all of her music, obviously. First thing I do when I get to the apartment of the girl I like, check out her record collection.
But, you know, Mark McPherson in the novel, a lot more is made of his past, where he has a history of, like, fighting gangsters.
Yeah.
You know, he has done really intense detective work.
Right.
In fact, this case was assigned to him kind of as an insult, like it's a political move in the department.
Right.
It's way beneath him
Yeah.
to be investigating, you know, a little murder like this. You know, so he has this very kind of, I guess, traditionally masculine trait where he's really courageous.
Yeah.
In addition to all of these incredibly sensitive and sweet personality traits as well.
Which I think also lends to that, the way that he starts off on the case. Like the reasoning behind also of him being like,
dismissive.
Oh, I just have to like do this case and then go from here and whatever and stuff. I think that is something that's a little different with our with Cooper, is like, you know, like when you're with the FBI, like, you know, you're going to be going into something, and, you know, and he's got Gordon Cole being like, okay, so here, you know, here's the situation you're kind of walking into.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, do they know it's a Blue Rose case right away?
Right.
You know. Yeah.
So it's like, so Cooper's going in with a little bit more context.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Mark is going in immediately, just wants to dismiss the whole thing because he's just like, this is so beneath me.
But that kind of masculinity that we see celebrated in the novel, Laura, is very much what we see in Twin Peaks too.
Absolutely.
You know, with Cooper, with Truman, Gordon Cole, Doc Hayward, Albert, Hawk, even Carl Rodd.
Yeah.
You know, these are the kind of men that Bessie would say is a man. You know,
Yes.
Cooper's a man.
Yes.
Truman's a man.
Yeah, and we've talked about that so many times in past episodes, where it's just like, we would feel safe with, you know, well, not all men, but some of these men of Twin Peaks. Take me to like the sheriff's department, you know, in the first and second season, and I'm feeling pretty safe.
You know, but in both texts, in both Laura and Twin Peaks, the opposite is not glamorized whatsoever, like the opposite kind of man. There's no romanticization of these toxic men. Waldo Lydecker described as a fussy old maid. You know, Shelby Carpenter, according to Mark in the novel, was, quote, a dream walking. He was God's gift to women. I really love in the novel how at the beginning Mark is like, where do I know this guy from? Where do I know Shelby from? And he's racking his brain trying to remember where he may have seen him before. And then he's like, oh, he's just like every other guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I know him from. He's just this dream boat. It reminds me a little bit of The Great Gatsby when Daisy says to Gatsby, like, you remind me of the advertisement of the man. You know, the advertisement of the man. And that's kind of how he sees Shelby. Like, he's just the dream walking.
Yeah.
But Shelby's not. I mean, he's actually just this vapid, weak baby who sponges off of wealthy women and then betrays them.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like Laura Hunt's aunt says, like, he wasn't good for her. He's just sponges off of them.
Yeah, because he takes that cigarette case or he wants this gold cigarette case because he needs it to look good for his clients or some weird thing.
It's like and Laura buys it because she's like, I think it was like she says something like, I wanted him to fit in with the other guys at the club and stuff.
Right. And then she has to borrow money to get it for him. So she's still paying it off when he gives it as a gift to Diane Redfern. Ew. And of course, poor Laura in the novel again is out to lunch with Diane when she sees that cigarette case in her purse. Oh my goodness. Anyway, what a jerk Shelby is.
But I mean, like, but it's spot on. There are still so many Shelbys out in the world. Let me tell you.
But if Mark McPherson is a man, these individuals are not men.
Right.
You know, they're not. And they're not, again, glamorized or romanticized.
No.
And isn't that so similar in Twin Peaks? Like, the male villains, they almost parody masculinity instead of embodying a negative version of it.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by parodying it is like Leo Johnson, right? Like, he's this traditional husband. But he's not. He's like dumb and violent and like hopped up on, you know, Benny's. I'm thinking of the missing pieces. Oh yeah. and like Leland. Oh, he's supposedly this protective father and husband, but he's obviously the opposite of that too.
Yes.
You know, Ben Horne. So even if he seems superficially attractive to some, like as this man of business, I think the whole Audrey storyline at One-Eyed Jack's just decimates that.
I mean, the way that Audrey looks after that scene is heart-wrenching because it's just any last good thing she had about her dad, any like last ideas of like, oh, my dad's like a good guy or my dad's my dad,
right?
Immediately has just fled. Like, anything she was holding on to, any hope she had for him at that point is gone.
And I think that would happen with the viewers too. Like, I never thought that Ben Horne was attractive.
Right.
But if you did, as a viewer,
so
I feel like watching him almost rape his own daughter would reverse that for you.
That scene is one of the most difficult for me to watch of Twin Peaks. It's so awful, so disgusting.
And in The Return, we have like just pure unsexy evil. Yeah. You know, when I think of like Mr. C or like Doppelcooper, like he's greasy, he wears like tacky clothes, he has no real personality. I don't see it.
He does have like a sheen on him.
Yeah. Oily.
Yeah.
Looks oily. Or even like Richard Horne, who when we first see him, I mean, certainly the other girls at the Roadhouse think he's attractive. But he's just so instantly vicious that we get no time to kind of dwell on any kind of superficial attractiveness in him.
Yeah.
Well, the novel tried to make this point even more vividly than the film did because Waldo's gun was supposed to be hidden in the walking stick instead of stashed inside the clock. It was very Freudian, very intentional on Caspary's part, and she even said that Waldo's impotence was the theme of the novel. I mean, in a sense, that's something that Waldo shares in common with the male villains of Twin Peaks. Like, they might not be literally sexually impotent, but their sexual dominance is portrayed as evidence of actual weakness. Like, Laura Palmer will not be possessed entirely, despite the fact that she's being sexually enslaved.
Yeah.
Like, she will not submit.
I mean, that's the big thing about Laura, is that she never stops fighting.
Yeah. And so this, thinking about all of this kind of led me to this final kind of thought on
Yes.
it. That maybe it's like the opposite of a, quote, man, in the language of Vera Caspary, is a being who wields his own impotence as a weapon against others. Maybe that's what a man isn't. A man doesn't wield his own impotence as a weapon against others.
Yeah. No, I think that is a fantastic way to put it. Because, I mean, truly, it's like, why is it so classic to the point that it is, like, cliched, and you expect it, that if you turn down a man, he will flip out on you.
Right, and perhaps get violent.
Yeah. Or just like aggressive, or just like send you a nasty text or
Yeah.
something. You know, it's just the minute that you're like, actually, I don't want to be with you. You can't possess me. You can't, control me or whatever. They do so quickly resort to violence. I mean, like, even just when Mark first gets on the case, he's like, oh, classic. Yeah. Like, he's like, the guy did it. Obviously, the guy did it. I'm not even doubting it. I'm sure. I'm certain. I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like any shows or whatever, they're always like, it's always the boyfriend or it's always the husband, you know? And it's like, yeah, because it often is. It's because, like, the second that that they feel that they have lost power in that situation, it often resorts to violence, which is so terrifying. And so I think that is what we cherish in the good men of Twin Peaks, and cherish in men like Mark, where they're not going to use that to hurt someone, specifically to hurt women.
Right. Well, to quote an article that we've got here in our research, which is by Kathleen Erda, the article's name is Deromanticizing Dead Women, Vera Caspary's Lara and the Tradition of the Murderous Male Aesthete. Erda says, with Mark, Caspary successfully associates a detective, typically virile and tough, with the capacity to appreciate rather than feel threatened by an unconventional woman, as Waldo, her symbol of weak masculinity, cannot.
Yeah.
So a real man has no need to wield a weapon against a woman, where Waldo is clearly characterized as this very weak figure who's got to use this very Freudian symbol of his walking stick, to blow her face off with buckshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as he feels like he can't possess her anymore. Like, it's such a classic trope, right? If I can't have you, no one can.
Sure. Well, and in the novel, Waldo does that thing earlier. It's very intense foreshadowing, where Waldo in the novel is a collector of mercury glass, which is interesting symbolically in lots of ways we can talk about maybe in the next section. But he sees a vase or something in the window of an antique store and goes in and tries to buy it. And the antique shop owner says, oh, no, somebody else already is promised to someone else. And Waldo smashes it. He destroys it. And then he's kind of gleeful.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful object that he could not possess is now destroyed. So it's very intense foreshadowing, but yeah.
And then the mercury glass that is at Laura's, he has this whole thing with where he shows up and he's like, okay, well, it's mine though.
Yeah.
And her aunt is like, well, I know you gave it to her as like a Christmas gift,
Right.
so technically it's hers. And he's like, no, I was only lending it to her. It's actually mine. If she's not around anymore, then I should have it back.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole big fight. And it's just like, Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing about this guy and how possessive he is.
And I also love that's how Bessie first sees what she thinks is Laura's body. It's reflected in that mercury glass. Oh, yeah. So that's the thing about this novel, which I do think it's very rereadable. You know, it kind of held up for me on multiple rereads, because even though it's quite short and it's kind of breezy in some ways, like there are really interesting motifs and symbols that are kind of pulled throughout it. So,
and the writing is just great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure listeners at this point, you know, you've heard us do a couple quotes, and I'm sure you can agree. It's really just good to read as well. And with that, we will move on to chapter 3, which is defying genre and archetype. So, Lara was one of 4 films discussed in the first recorded use of the term film noir in 1946, but is it?
When I watched Lara as part of a binge of film noir, I have to admit that like a lot of the details of the other films kind of blended together. Even films I really loved, I need a little refresher to remember which was which. But that did not happen at all with Lara. Yeah. Like, Lara, I think, was so different from all of those other films from the same era that I needed no refresher on it. In the book, Lara as Novel, Film, and Myth by Eugene McNamara that I referenced earlier, McNamara said, Lara has been called a classic of cinema noir. When one outlines the main characteristics of cinema noir, the conclusion fits uneasily, if at all. And I think we agree with that too.
Yeah.
That this film, although it comes from that era, doesn't really share a lot of similarities with film noir.
No, and I mean, I was noticing just as we've been sitting here that particularly your copy of the book says femme fatale on it.
Yeah.
And I really, as someone who's seen noir, and I feel like I have a pretty solid idea of what it is, when I was watching it and reading it, like, she's really not the classic femme fatale.
I don't think she shares any qualities really with a femme fatale.
That's the thing is, like, when I was watching the movie for the first time, you know, again, like I'm familiar with noir. I've seen a handful, and like, so you go in with this expectation right off the bat where you're like, okay, so it's going to be a femme fatale, you know, she's going to double cross him or something or whatever. That's not who Lara is, though. That's really, really not her character.
No, she's not manipulative or deceptive or any of those things. So, as Caspary said that we quoted earlier, she does everything with love.
Yeah, she hasn't done anything wrong.
No.
She just went to the country.
Again, in McNamara's book, he talks about how the film was advertised, like kind of with the posters and the advertisements for it. And this might have been part of the problem.
Yeah.
That he said, obviously the studio found it difficult to find a way to publicize the film. Hence, a lobby card is captioned, quote, "The story of a love that became the most fearful thing that ever happened to a woman." A billboard announces, "When it came to men, Lara gets by with murder." In all caps. You know, that's not true. It says the poster is vivid evidence that there was some confusion at the studio about what the film meant.
Well, I mean, it's like you were just saying, like the description you were seeing popping up when you were like renting it or watching it was like, even that just really doesn't do the movie justice at all. I remember when we first talked about this at all as a topic, and I just did like a quick Google search, and it's just like everything that I was seeing, all the little summaries and everything, could not have prepared me at all for what I was about to read or watch.
Yeah.
Because they just get it so wrong. I mean, it's really improperly advertised. And I think that it's much better than what they're advertising.
Yeah, it has it's much richer and more interesting. So if Lara's not a femme fatale, I think that the film hints at this, and the novel makes it even more explicit, that Mark is not a hard-boiled detective.
No.
Not at all. Like that bit I read earlier that Lara actually says to Mark, like, "You're not so hard-boiled."
Yeah.
You know? And he isn't. He's like really sensitive and imaginative and smart, and he's like so willing to fall in love with this girl.
I think when we first meet him, he's played as that a little bit, but that quickly falls away. And yeah, we quickly find out that the hero and heroine of our story they really go against the classic archetypes of film noir. Mm-hmm. Like, is this even film noir?
No, I mean, I think that in the novel, the character who's advocating for this noir reading is the villain. Yeah. It's Waldo. Like, he misconstrues Mark's motive and Laura's character. Yeah. Like, he is the author trying to reduce them to stereotypes.
100%. I mean, the way that he monologues and everything is so... He just, like, he sees them as these little dolls in a dollhouse that he's moving around or something. Like, he doesn't really, which, I mean, fits with his character. He does not really see them as people. He sees them as objects that he's just sort of playing with.
Well, to connect back to the Kathleen Erda article that I quoted earlier, she describes Waldo as emerging, quote, from an older artistic tradition that renders the aestheticization of dead women as particular masculine pathology rather than a natural subject of art. She connects Waldo with the speakers in the Browning poems Porphyria's Lover and My Last Duchess, but then she asserts that Caspary uses the plot twist of Laura's return to undermine Waldo and this artistic romanticization of the dead woman. Quote from Erda, through this plot twist and Waldo's characterization, Caspary consigns the view that dead women make good art to failed masculinity. Ooh. I mean, Waldo's art is writing, and specifically crime stories, right? So he tries to write Laura. First, he believes he, like, made her. You know, he took this naive Colorado girl, and he made her into this sophisticated, professional, modern woman worthy of New York City. He refers to her as a child, as Shelby Carpenter does. But when that character fails him, he tries to rewrite her. He says to Laura in the novel, Laura says, like, say it, Waldo, you believe me guilty. And Waldo, of course, knows she isn't. He's the one who tried to kill her. And he says, I adore you for it. I see before me a great woman. Violence gives conviction to passions, my loveliest of love. You are not dead, Laura. You are a violent, living, bloodthirsty woman. Laura is not that at all.
No.
He's trying to write her as that character.
Yeah. He's trying to control the narrative because it did not go according to plan.
Yeah.
As many people, well, many men do.
Yeah. And she's like... And she's even on to Waldo.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks that he created her and wrote her, but she says that, like, she knew he was just a sad man desperately in need of being loved.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't see him as, like, her savior or as her creator or something.
Right. But I love this idea of, like, that plot twist of her coming back. To completely undermine everything. Because it is a crazy plot twist. If it's your first time approaching it, you're like, oh, okay, all right, we're investigating a dead woman. And then all of a sudden, there she is. Yeah. And you're like, okay, did not see that coming. That doesn't usually happen.
No.
Yeah, it totally flips the script. It changes everything. I mean, even, like, after that, there's, like, a point where, like, Mark goes back to work for a minute, and his boss is like, well, you find the killer yet? And he's like, well, you know, I'm figuring that out, but here's the thing, she's not dead. And they think he's joking. Like, they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, seriously, I know, it's pretty crazy. It was a different girl.
Yeah.
We got that one wrong.
Well, I mean, the novel isn't really a detective story.
No.
In a sense, you know? Like, Waldo says something like this at the beginning of the novel. Like, he's not a reliable narrator, but still, Caspary's own sentiments echo his. Waldo says, I offer the narrative not so much as a detective yarn as a love story. You know, and according to the novel's afterword, again by A.B. Emrys, Caspary was never really interested in detectives and mysteries. Instead, quote, Caspary made murder a context in which both male and female characters resolve their own mysterious lives, as though the crime itself were a metaphor for the conundrum of relationships versus independence. But Twin Peaks really isn't a crime drama either.
Yeah.
The murder was never supposed to be solved.
Yeah.
You know, both David Lynch and Mark Frost said that they never intended to reveal who the killer of Laura Palmer was. That was beside the point. And that's very much true to this story as well.
Right.
The murder is not really what it's about. It's not who killed Laura Hunt, but it's like why.
Right.
Why did he try to kill Laura Hunt?
Yeah, the story is meant to be more about everything that led up to it, who this character is at all. Like, who is Laura? Like, it's not who killed Laura Palmer. It's more like, who is Laura Palmer? And I feel like Laura Hunt is that way too. I mean, because like, as everything starts to unravel and everything, I mean, like when he's talking at the station and stuff, it's like, okay, well, like, here's the thing is like the killing is a whole other story now, because that's a whole other person that got killed. I mean, like, obviously it's all connected and everything, but it's like, there's so many layers to it all.
Well, you know, speaking of that other murder, that kind of leads into our last chapter, so to speak, is more like little endnotes on other things we thought were interesting parallels between the novel or the film and Twin Peaks. And the other murder victim is Diane Redfern. So in the novel, there are pretty interesting parallels between that character and Teresa Banks from Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, I mean, so for starters, a big thing is, like, so when Laura comes back, that's when they realize that the body that they found and they thought was Laura's is actually Diane's. But they mistook it for her because she's like dressed in her clothes, she's in her apartment. And that was like one of the first things we thought about is how in Fire Walk with Me, how Leland is like, you look just like my Laura. And it's
she
like,
doesn't.
She doesn't. She's just another blonde girl. Like, but so it's like, I mean, yes, like her face is shot off and there's a lot of blood and everything, but like, even like Bessie makes a point of being like, well, yeah, like, I guess when I found the body, there was a lot of blood in blood in the hair, so I didn't realize that it wasn't you, because like they have different hair colors even. It's like, you know, and Laura had talked about that they looked very different, you know, like Diane is one of the models. So it's like, yeah, it's another thing where this other woman, their body is receiving this like torment that is meant for our Lauras. Their bodies are just like almost like punching bags or like dummies that are like taking this damage.
100%.
Yeah. Like they're just stand-ins for this harm that these men want to do to the Lauras, whether it's Laura Palmer or Laura Hunt. And they're just like wrong place, wrong time, kind of.
My God, yeah.
Like they don't know what they're getting swept up in.
And importantly, they are both from a much lower social class.
Yeah.
You know, Diane Redfern and Teresa Banks. You know, Teresa's living in Fat Trout Trailer Park, and Diane is living in this shabby apartment building.
Yeah.
Where Mark visits, and the signs say vacancy, Persian cats, dressmaking, occult science, French home cooking. As I stood there as I stood in the drizzle, I understood why a girl would hesitate to spend a hot weekend here.
Well,
it's just a shabby, depressing place.
And when he talks to the lady that owns the building, he's like, "You didn't notice she was gone for days?"
And she says, there were so many girls in the city, and they were such loose creatures that it didn't make any difference whether one of them got misplaced once in a while. Oh, and that's how Teresa is treated as well. Yeah. She's a drifter. She has no family. She has no one to claim her body.
Yeah.
It's like she doesn't matter.
Right. And it's like, no, their lives still matter. It still matters that a girl is dead, actually. Yeah. Just because it wasn't the girl you wanted to kill doesn't mean that it doesn't matter that they're dead now.
Yeah. But when Mark goes into the apartment of Diane Redfern, he sees that she dreamed of Hollywood, that there are Hollywood magazines, and she has like beautiful clothes that she's invested in, and so she has these high hopes. But he describes it as, I had known girls like that around New York. No home, no friends, not much money. Diane had been a beauty, but beauties are a dime a dozen on both sides of Fifth Avenue and between 8th Street and 96th. Later he says, the sum of all of it was a shabby and shiftless life. When we visit Teresa's trailer with Chet Desmond and Sam Stanley and Carl Rodd, there is a shabbiness to that contrasts with the glamour of the girl we see in the photograph.
Right.
Teresa is stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
And yet her surroundings and her lack of connections really does seem to parallel with Diane Redfern here.
Definitely.
And, Robert Engels co-wrote the script for Fire Walk with Me. He also wrote the episode of Twin Peaks where they go to Lydecker's veterinary clinic and talk about Waldo the minor bird. So clearly he was on board with these references to Laura.
Yeah, he definitely had something in mind.
Yeah. So another great parallel between the film Laura and Twin Peaks is the music. That both of our Lauras have this really unforgettable theme. To quote Eugene McNamara again, he says, there is the aural effect of the music. This is part of why he thinks this film has such an enduring quality. He says, as Elmer Bernstein put it, quote, the mystique was supplied by the insistence of the haunting melody. We may not remember what Laura was like, but we never forget that she was the music. And when I read that, I thought that's so much how Laura Palmer's theme sits with us too. I know you're not on TikTok, but recently, last month or so, Laura Palmer's theme became a kind of recurring song on TikTok.
Oh, interesting.
That people were putting over videos.
Was it like a particular trend? Like people specifically doing...
Like a trending audio?
But like, was it because they were like all, like how it'll be, you all do the same activity?
It wasn't a dance or anything. It was just like for kind of like a sad or wistful thing. And so plenty of Twin Peaks fans on TikTok were like, oh, no.
Yeah.
you don't get to do this. This is not a TikTok song. This is Laura's song. Yeah. Laura was the music.
Right.
And the idea that characterization of both Laura Hunt and Laura Palmer is so inextricably connected to their music, I think is quite lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it is definitely a huge part of, like people talk all the time about like, like, oh, what would your like walkout theme be or something? And it's like, yeah, like to have your own specific music, I think says a lot about a character. Yeah.
No, the way that Laura Palmer's theme was written, I think we've all seen that video.
Yes.
I know we've talked about it before, where Angelo Badalamenti is describing that process. And so, of course, that theme is a perfect expression of Laura Palmer's character.
Yeah.
Because there he is, sitting there while David Lynch is describing this and reacting in real time. The song Laura that is in the film and that later was given lyrics was written under different circumstances. Preminger originally wanted the song Sophisticated Lady to be the theme song, but David Raskin didn't like that idea. He objected that the music would be wrong. It would imply that Laura was like a lady of the night. And so instead he composed this theme, and he composed it because his heart was broken one Saturday. He put off reading the letter from the woman he loved and who wanted to leave him until Sunday. And then after reading it, the opening phrase from the Laura theme came to him. So it was his own kind of personal emotional response.
Yeah.
So it is a beautiful song, and it's the second most recorded song of all time, apparently. But the lyrics also that were written by Johnny Mercer, they were written before he had seen the film. So the song, whether the one we hear in the film or the one that's recorded with lyrics, does feel kind of disconnected from the character of Laura Hunt in a way that Laura Palmer's theme does not.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, when you hear it, you are immediately only thinking of Laura Palmer and Twin Peaks.
Right.
Well, listeners, one of the things we want to end with is this incredible quote that we feel completely sums up. Like, if we have not sold you enough on the similarities, I think this will do it immediately. One of the early lines in the book that we both clung to that works for both our Laura Hunt and our Laura Palmer is, to solve the puzzle of her death, you must first resolve the mystery of Laura's life. This is no simple task. She had no secret fortune, no hidden rubies, but I warn you, Macpherson, the activities of crooks and racketeers will seem simple in comparison with the motives of a modern woman.
To solve the puzzle of her death, you must first resolve the mystery of her life.
That's a Twin Peaks tagline if I've ever heard one.
It is. And, you know, when I first read this novel, I thought for sure that line must be in the film. Because I thought, oh, that must have been the line that made the writers of Twin Peaks immediately want to connect with this film. And so rewatching the film and realizing it wasn't in there, that's part of what convinced me that, they had to have the novel in mind as well.
And what a tragedy not to put it in the film when it's one of the greatest lines in the book.
It is. It's beautiful.
Well, listeners, we are done with our storytelling for the day, but we wanted to quickly thank you guys, as always, for being so kind and supportive, and for anyone who has left us reviews. They seriously mean so much to us. There was one that we saw that we really loved.
Yeah, and this wasn't visible to us on our Apple podcast. It says, "A warm hug of a podcast for Twin Peaks fans." What a great title. Full Blossom of the Evening is the podcast equivalent of coffee and cherry pie at the Double R while wearing a really great sweater. Warm, sweet, stimulating, but cozy and comforting.
So nice.
Hilary and Indigo's evident affection for each other and boundless enthusiasm for David Lynch are delightful. Come for the atmosphere, stay for the obscure lore.
I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me.
Me too. And because we couldn't see that on our own Apple Podcast platform, we felt the need to read that in case...
Yes.
Okay, that deserves wider press.
Yes.
Love it. Just love it. So...
Yeah, so if you have thought about leaving us a review before, or you like us and you haven't left a review yet, we would really love to hear from you. Truly, it brightens our days so much. There have been many days of mine that have been turned around by Hilary sending me a message and being like, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no, but wow." It truly, it's so special for us to hear from you guys.
Yeah. So please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Full Blossom of the Evening.
And you can also email us at fullblossomoftheeveningpodcast@gmail.com. We just love your comments, your episode ideas, all that good stuff.
Well, we'll be back next time with a special episode on Horns Department Store.
A little local lore.
But in the meantime, we'll sign off with
It was Laura, and she's come to kiss you goodbye.
goodbye, listeners.
Goodbye.